The patriarchy's so crafty. Texas law banning abortion as early as 6 weeks goes into effect as the U.S. Supreme Court takes no action.
I hate the abortion debate. I hate it.
Yeah.
There's certain news cycles that are like herpes. They just like have these flare-ups in the culture, and I hate them. I hate this debate. I hate it so much for so many reasons. There's no way to talk about it without pissing everyone off, particularly if you fall where actually most Americans fall, which is somewhere in the middle, in the squishy, uncomfortable middle. The way that it's framed on the left as just this decision that has no moral complications always bothers me, because it's something that I think a lot of women wrestle with, and acting like people are just skipping off to the clinic like they're going to get some freaking cough drops from CVS is not honest. Yeah. And then on the right, the like baby killer rhetoric is never helpful. I fucking hate that it's always framed around the woman. There's never any conversation about what men could do to prevent this. Get a vasectomy. Here's my idea. Get a vasectomy until you're ready to have children. And then when you're ready to have a child, you can tuck your dick.
Reverse. That's not what happens.
I know.
That's where the effeminate men come from.
We're just not really sure what a vasectomy is she?
I know what it is.
Vasectomy involves closing the tubes that carry sperm from the testicles to the penis.
I hate this conversation so much. I hate it. I hate the abortion debate with every bone in my female body. I hate that it's so centered around what women need to be doing or not doing, or what horrible medical procedures they need to have in order to prevent this. It's never about what men can do to prevent it. And then around this debate in Texas, the whole idea that there are these narcs getting paid $10,000. Why don't you rat out the dude who got the chick pregnant, huh? Why is it only about the girl? Yeah. This is what drives me crazy. Also, that practice is horrible.
I don't understand how this law is insane in its like draconian ability to sue abortion providers, anyone who helps a woman obtain abortion, including like the Uber driver who took her to the clinic.
Yeah.
So how is that not a law that's grounds for the Supreme Court to like take action on? Because it seems like an infringement on a person's personal rights.
Yeah, a person's personal rights. It also seems like an infringement on a business's right. And it's weird with all of this conversation around vaccine mandates and the state of Texas suing for children not to wear masks. It's like there's so much hypocrisy in our culture. And on the left, there's so much confusion because now you've just handed the right wing a talking point on a silver platter where they'll say something like Jen Psaki this week said, you're not a woman, you wouldn't understand.
I know you've never faced those choices, nor have you ever been pregnant, but for women out there who have faced those choices, this is an incredibly difficult thing.
And then everyone was like, I'm sorry, I was told that men can have babies.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you gave them this. You gave them this on a fucking platter. So you, left wing, you disorganized idiots. And then if you're going to make this big argument about personal choice around medical, why does that end when it comes to vaccines? That doesn't make any sense to me. I get it more from the right wing because they believe you're killing a baby. So they make the distinction of like, well, vaccines aren't killing a baby. I don't necessarily agree with it, but that's their distinction. But on the left, it's like you can't argue for bodily autonomy and then say that ends when somebody doesn't want to get a vaccine.
Yeah.
Because, but their argument is we live in a society and you're killing people. You're killing grandma. It's all the same argument. And meanwhile, everyone's trying to control the language around women's bodies. You have it makes me want to rip my fucking hair out, the left and the right. And then everyone seems to know what a woman is on the left when suddenly the abortion debate comes up. Right. And you've been erasing us for like years. I can't. This debate gets worse. And it's so much more extreme. And when you look at the numbers, Americans are pretty split about it. I don't know. I'm very squishy on it. I'm like, I'm ambivalent, which doesn't help anything either, of course. You can't really be like, I'm pro-choice, but. Mm-hmm. Although I think that's where most Americans land. Most Americans are like, yeah, within the first trimester.
Yeah.
The abortion debate makes me completely done with both parties. I'm like, I'm done with all of you because you're so dishonest. And the minute you need to use the completely reverse argument of whatever you claim your principles are and that you're fighting for, you'll freaking abandon it and just and abandon everybody with it behind you. I'm very like pro-life in the sheets and pro-choice in the streets. Like, you do what you need to do for yourself. I don't like really policing other people's medical decisions. I'm very consistent on this with vaccines, with very early term abortions. I know this is like a segment that will piss everyone off, and I'm totally okay with that. I've seen really actually in the PHETASY community kind, loving, and nuanced conversations happening about this. And I think people are able to have those conversations when they feel safe and they don't feel like they're going to be attacked and they don't feel like they're going to get called a baby killer or they're going to get called, you know, some right-wing religious nutbag. I can understand both sides of the argument. I live kind of in that weird in between myself. I think from my perspective, this is just Texas trying to get rid of all the libs moving to their state. They're like, we're trying to get rid of all those Californians coming, and here's how we're going to do it. We're going to ban abortions.
But it's a social experiment, and as Better Fantasy said in the writer's room, this is the way to turn a purple state blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could backfire.
Yeah.
Definitely. If you're an independent, many independents, I think, still lean more towards pro-choice. And if you're an independent, I think this would push you to vote more blue. Again, the hypocrisy. Like, Texas stops giving a shit about kids the minute they're freaking born.
Boy, these conservatives are really something, aren't they? And they will do anything for the unborn. But once you're born, you're on your own.
Yeah.
There's got to be a way to reframe this. Like, maybe if I'm like, oh, the baby was... this thing was trespassing in my vagina,
In my
and I had to kill it.
That's dark.
I know. It's a stand your ground law.
This baby has no rights to take up residence in my uterus.
This thing was trespassing in my uterus, and I had to use force to make sure that I was safe. It was self-defense, really.
It wouldn't leave.
We're going to get little undies made that are like, we don't call the police, we shoot first. No trespassing undies. I tried to warn you. Tell Maggie your thoughts on abortion in the comments.
She would love to hear them.
Tell her how angry this segment made you, and tell her in a long diatribe what you believe about baby killers.
Send your abortion manifestos.
Send your abortion manifestos to Maggie, and maybe Maggie will self-abort next to it.
On the 69th episode, they're going to be like, tragically, Maggie took her own life from reading the YouTube comments last week.
Maggie sadly is no longer with us, thanks to your abortion manifestos.